Welcome back to the Freaky Deaky. We are.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was holding it in. I held it in.
I really. I'm gonna play it one more time into the microphone.
It was so
just
soothing,
to be
though.
sure. All right.
It was so soothing.
It was nice.
You gotta redo it. I heard a mistake in there. The government is listening to you.
And that's your PSA for the evening or morning, whenever you're checking in. Welcome back to the Freaky Deaky. Yeah, we're gonna have to re-record these cameras by the time we actually get the first sentence out.
This is normally how the first one starts too.
Yeah, after the first or second recording, it's smooth sailing. But for the time being, buckle up. Yeah, we're back here at Summer Break with some good friends, Alex and Chris, joining us, and we're gonna be talking about this house, actually, which is something we've talked about a little bit in the past. We haven't brought it up on the podcast, mainly just amongst ourselves, because, China and I moved into this house back in November, and we learned some things about the house probably a few months ago. And then, I've had a couple weird experiences here, nothing like malevolent or out of the norm, or out of the norm for sure, but nothing crazy or sinister feeling. Just weird, quote unquote, coincidences that I kind of kept to myself. And then, having Alex and Chris stay with us for the time being while we were on our honeymoon in Jamaica, they reported back that a few things had been happening while we were gone. And you know what? It's summer break. We're like, F it, we'll do it live. And here we are, quoting Bill O'Reilly, making shit happen as usual. So I guess to start, I can kind of go into detail a little bit about the events that took place in this house, or that what we discovered happened in the house. And then I'll kind of share the couple weird things that happened with me, and then I'll just kind of give it to you guys to talk about some weird stuff that you have seen or heard or experienced while staying with us in this home. Essentially, the original owner of this house was... I'm not going to give out any names. I'm not trying to point anyone back to where we live exactly, but the original owner of this house had the neighbor across the street murdered because he fell in love with the neighbor's wife or something like that. Some kind of weird love triangle. He paid some guy to make a car, blew the guy up on his way to work.
Now everybody knows. You need to not put the in there.
Let me take out some of those details.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. It wasn't a, he blew up with a, no.
let me add this in here so you can just fix it. This guy was violent. You don't need to tell him how he was violent.
I'm trying to set the stage. I'm really trying to give some background information. We have like 6 people that might look into it. The rest of them are just gonna be like, I don't care. Tell me the story. I'll bleep out the words.
Okay.
There we go.
No.
Essentially,
Actually, you should just put in something that's really nonviolent.
frying pan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he murdered the neighbor with a frying pan. Or
Pineapple
hired
juice.
someone. Yeah, there you go. So, essentially, that guy got put in prison, as you do when you have someone murdered. That happens, And yeah, and then cut to however many years later, China and I moved into this home. And we don't find that out until we're talking to one of our neighbors across the street. It was like, oh yeah, the original owner of that house had this guy murdered. And we're like, neat. What fun. What fun we're about to have. And the worst part is we're still technically getting mail from this dude. Like every once in a while, I'll look at the mail and be like, isn't that the guy that murdered the people? And China's like, yeah.
That's just an additional weirdness added to it.
Yeah.
I feel like.
For sure. Yeah. So that's the backstory is we may be we're definitely living in the home of someone who committed or had murder committed in the name of love.
Toxic love.
Toxic love. Yeah. So essentially, I haven't seen anything per se, any like apparitions or anything out of the norm like that, but I have had a few weird ass coincidences that I feel like should be shared. The one that I come back to time and time again, I've told you guys probably a dozen times already. I've told Christian probably a dozen times already. I get up for work very early at like 3:30 in the morning. And one morning I was coming into the studio here to grab a pod. I'm gonna bleep out because those people. but essentially your boy needed some nicotine. And so as I was opening the door to the studio, the Bluetooth speaker in here shut off. It was like, doo-doo. Like the moment the door opened, I just heard the Bluetooth speaker sound off. And I was like, okay, number one, I didn't know it was on. Number two, it was plugged in, so it shouldn't have just shut off on its own. It's never happened before. And number three, what are the odds that at that exact moment in the, like, you know, crack of dawn, when I'm coming in here for some nicotine, that the thing powers off the second I open the door? And so that just kind of weirded me out. I got my pod, got out of the studio pretty quickly, went back, went to work, hated my life. But after that, mainly just feelings, I guess. There's certain times, especially in the winter when it's super dark outside, this little, you know, breezeway we have right here gets very dark. And since it's glass windows on the other side of that, all you see is the darkness when you look into it. And sometimes you just feel like you're being watched, you know, and that's human nature. I get that, Christian. I see your ears perking up already with the human nature explanation, or the back in the old day, the people used to be aware when people were in the bushes. And yeah, but
Animals were in the bushes.
okay, animals were in the bushes. Yeah. So outside of that stuff, nothing major. Like I've had a couple of weird, I guess technically that sighting I saw when I woke up and that thing was next to China's head, that was in this house. But that could have also just been a hallucination on my part, because it was the moment I woke up. It's not like it was something that I was like wide awake and like, oh, here's this thing popping out, you know?
Yeah.
But-
Possibly still half asleep.
Did you feel that was malicious though, or
I didn't like it. I didn't care for it. I was like, weird timing, you know? Very early morning hours. I wasn't about to have... It was just, it's not the sight you want to see, you know, a weird face staring at you right next to your wife's face while you're half asleep.
I feel that?
Yeah, it wasn't fun, but wouldn't recommend, wouldn't do it again. But, you know, that's about it. Outside of those, I haven't actually seen anything physically like walking about or anything like that. Like there's weird noises here, but I also feel like the acoustics in this house are just really strange. Like if you have the dishwasher running, sometimes it sounds like there's a parade outside your front door. It's, you know, weird noises where it's just rumbles and, you know.
The way the street is shaped, it kind of echoes like outdoor sounds from far away. You can kind of hear them sometimes.
Yeah.
Notice that.
So almost everything I hear, I pretty much am just like, that's probably something else. You know, I don't get too spooked out. But then having you guys come over and be like, oh, some weird stuff has happened to us too. And it's like, great. Now I have to acknowledge it. Cool.
Right.
I was just, you know, sweeping under the rug for a while. I'm like, yeah, it's probably not the ghost of a murderer. It's fine.
Well, at first I would say like I didn't really, you know, like I told you, I feel like I felt some kind of an energy, but it wasn't like positive or negative. It was just an energy that didn't belong in the house with us. You know, like that's what I feel. I don't feel like it's bad or good. It's just an additional energy that doesn't belong here, or whatever your view is. But I mean, definitely when you guys left, like, because originally what made me feel like that, I feel like when I would get off work, somebody was watching me, like in that lower. What is that? The den, right?
Like the living room area,
Yeah. Where the fireplace is.
Oh,
has
okay,
the
yeah,
cutout
yeah.
in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's like China's office area now, yeah.
So like I was like, I feel like somebody's watching me. And then when you guys went to Jamaica, like it wasn't anything like physical manifestations, but it was, I feel like the activity was really magnified a lot. Do you agree with that, Dan?
Yeah, it definitely felt like it was an everyday occurrence. It wasn't constant occurrence, but you know, well, we have two small dogs that we brought with us.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm with Scott. I haven't seen anything, and I don't feel like I personally have felt any kind of energy, but one of our small dogs, Florence, she has definitely been sensing something in multiple parts of the house.
And one night to the point to where it looked like she was literally playing with either a person or a pet, or she was playing with something that we wasn't seeing. Like she was.
Well, when we went to bed, they typically, both of them will just get right into bed with us and go straight to sleep.
Yeah.
But Florence kept coming up out of the blankets and wanting to jump onto the floor. And both of them get cold really easy. We keep our room cold. And it made no sense. And she was just kind of laying down there. And then all of a sudden, she kind of gets up and starts barking underneath the bed.
That's the last place you want a dog barking.
Right.
To.
Right.
That's creepy as hell at night.
And
No thanks.
again, I don't think she was scared, but it kind of seemed like maybe she saw something and she was kind of playing with it, excited in a way.
Yeah.
But I immediately got up and looked underneath, and there's nothing there at all. I have no idea. And actually, the last few nights, it's taken us kind of some time to get her to bed. She's just, and it only happens when we're going to bed. Like during the daytime, she acts.
And then while you guys
normal.
were gone, there were several instances where they were at the base of the steps barking up towards our bedrooms. And, it was only Alex and I were both in the living room. You guys were gone.
Yeah.
So, and, it's just the characteristics of our pets. Like, I feel like we could tell that something was there and that they were seeing something. Like
Something's just off with
100%.
it. Yeah.
Like, just by the way that they were acting.
Yeah, you should share the story because when we were still home when you first told me about like feeling something weird, Chris. You were saying like, yeah, something just feels off, you know. And so you text me, and I was at work, right? You text me when I was at work or something, and just pretty much told me a story about like China's laptop just started blaring out of nowhere one of her workout videos. Well,
from the den room.
Yeah, and like China doesn't have remote access on that laptop. Nothing like. It's never happened before. We've been home many hours. It's never once started just randomly playing and out of nowhere. It's kind of so. Spin us that yarn, if you will.
So Alex and I were sitting there watching TV, and I don't know if it was before I went to work or if I was off, whatever the case was. But all of a sudden, this video just starts blaring from the computer in the den. We didn't know it's the computer at first until Alex got up and looked in there.
We didn't even know there was a computer in the room.
Right. Because really nobody goes in there. I feel like nobody in the house goes in that room that much.
No.
So all of a sudden, like this video is like blaring. He goes in there. It's the video on the laptop, and he just cuts it off and is like, "That's really weird." Like,
So did that like freak you out a little bit then? Like, because you're more skeptical, right, Alex? You're more of the.
Yeah, I mean, I would put myself right in the middle. I'm not, I think that energies exist, but it takes me a while to really convince me that it's really happening to me, I guess. But it didn't scare me. It really didn't scare me. I thought it was strange, obviously, but sometimes electronics do that randomly.
Sometimes.
And we also have a video that you guys could include, I guess, on your Instagram of Florence reacting to something in that room. There's something about that room. I feel like a lot of that energy is linked to that room. This is that den room, is what I feel.
Bad news for China. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a couple days ago.
Everything centers near or in that room.
Yeah.
You guys automatically say bad news for China. What if it's like good energy?
I don't feel anything bad.
Yeah, like what if it's just like, hey,
I'm
hanging out, keeping an eye on
and
you
it could
guys.
be, it absolutely could be good energy because I don't feel like it's bad, like it's trying to scare us or nothing. But it is like I feel like personally, every time that I got it out of my head while they were gone, that like, ooh, this really weird stuff happened. Every time I felt like I got to that level where I got comfortable again, something would happen. Almost like whatever was going on.
It's just like feeding off
It didn't want us to forget that it's here. You know what I mean? Like, that's the vibes. That's the energy that I felt like.
Yeah. And it's hard to say with that type of stuff, though. Like, who's to say that it is like a bad spirit or bad energy or anything like that?
Right.
Like, why can't it just be something that's either passing through or something that, we happen to be on a plot of land that just has weird stuff happen every once in a while. But I don't know. At the same time, like, as someone that's looked into weird shit for the majority of my life, when weird stuff starts happening, I pay attention to it because I'm like, okay, what is this? But I'm also rational with it. I don't just be like, oh, it's ghosts. Holy shit, we found him. Like, no, I have to prove it to myself that nothing else in the room could have done this. Nothing is going on. There's nothing on that shouldn't be on or anything like that. Like it's all, I have my process.
Right.
But I mean, someone like Christian might look at my process and be like, oh yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. Nice process.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
No, it's just, most of the weird things you hear in your house are just house sounds.
Yeah.
Exactly.
True.
Just like anything, most of the things flying in the sky are just planes or something like that.
Or UFOs.
But there's always something that's unexplained.
Right.
Whether it's in a house or UFOs or Bigfoot or whatever, there's always enough that's unexplained that's, being skeptical. I'm going to get rid of all the stuff that's you can explain. I want to find that, but there's always going to be something that makes no sense.
But wouldn't that prove just that one anomaly? One anomaly is all it takes to prove that shit is a lot weirder than we think it is.
Right.
Because that alone should wipe at least half of the skepticism off the board. Be like, okay, so there is absolutely something out there. What is it? That's the next question: is what is it? Is it energy?
Reality and science still has those what ifs. What is this thing that we don't understand? Then later it's a rational explanation, but then there's still more. It may open up more questions on what is really reality. Is reality having some kind of energy in your house, either good or bad or in between? Is that part of reality? And then is that part of reality paranormal or energetic, or what is it?
Well, I can tell you there was a few nights I was afraid to leave our room once we went to bed because it had freaked me out so much. I was like, I don't want to even go to the bathroom if Alex isn't awake. You know what I mean? It rattled me a little bit. I want to be at peace with whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, it really unsettles you. And we don't live here, obviously, but we want to feel like this is home.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you feel like somewhere's home, you have a sense of peace. And I feel like when you have experience like that, it shakes your feeling of inner peace.
Yeah.
Maybe in your home environment.
But that's the reality. Like there's two different sets of reality. There's reality for the believers in this stuff that have experienced stuff. And the reality is fear a lot. Is the unknown and all that shit. You're like, okay, I just saw something weird last night or last week, and now I'm thirsty. I want to go get some water. Guess who can't do that? Because it's this would be the opportune time for that ghost to make an appearance, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
So there's a constant second guessing yourself.
I feel that.
Trust me, I wish I could just be like, yeah, it was nothing, and walk downstairs with all the lights off and flip them on, but I'm not that guy. I have Philips Hue bulbs all throughout the house for that reason alone. Mood lighting and turning lights on before I enter the room, because your boy wants to be a step ahead of the ghosts,
Right. I could feel that. I would say low key made fun of me. He's like, oh, that's ridiculous or whatever. But I mean,
no,
some of that stuff was, we did not physically see any manifestations or anything, but some of the things that happened really sent a cold chill down my bones, really, the flashing light thing in front of the house.
That's another thing. Yeah, we didn't even mention that. And that's something that I saw too, that you guys just brought up to me yesterday. And that's that motion, quote unquote, that we thought it was a motion light. It's probably not even a motion light. On our front porch, occasionally, I've seen it happen twice where I'll be once again early in the morning, getting ready for work, and I'll see it kind of turn on, and then it'll turn off, and then it'll flicker. It'll go on, off, on, off, on, off, and it only seems to be doing it when I'm paying attention to the fucking light. And I guess anyone could be like, well, yeah, when you're paying attention to it, you probably notice it more often. But it's something where I can know that the light's not on while I'm around it, and then if I look at it, it'll turn on and turn off and turn on and turn off. I told you guys yesterday, the one that kind of spooked me the most was it wasn't full on summer, so it was still relatively dark at 5 a.m. when I leave for work. And so I'm outside standing by my car about to get in, and I just hear it tick, 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 tick. And I turn around and I'm like, it's that damn light. And it goes on and it stays on. I'm like, oh, maybe it's time sense. Then it goes off. I'm like, oh, maybe it's motion sense. And it goes back on and goes off, goes on, goes off. I get in my car, and as I'm pulling out, it's still doing it until I'm at the end of the driveway, and then it's just off.
Whoa.
And it's I drive to work. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, okay, either that's someone I should just learn Morse code, because what if it's just someone trying to send a message through Morse code?
Well, that one night when we came home from work, Alex said that it turned on while he was looking at it and actually thinking about, oh, was that light on? Because of the night before where we were not in front of the house and the light was on. And we knew it shouldn't be on. I don't know. It's really weird. And
do you guys ever think maybe you have mental powers that are stronger than you think?
I don't know, but if I can, I'd like to bend some spoons.
Yeah.
What had happened was we came home one night because Chris works late, so it was getting a little darker.
Yeah.
Before we had pulled into the driveway, which you guys have kind of a long driveway,
We do. Yeah.
we noticed the light turn on, or I did.
Yeah.
But I was questioning myself whether or not it was on when I left or not, because I was pretty sure it was off.
Yeah.
We're like, maybe it's emotional.
I want to bring up a couple things. Have you ever replaced this light fixture?
And that's what I brought up to them. Like, and I will say this, I brought it up to you guys that I know for a fact the old owner of this house, not the original owner, the old one that we bought it from, did some wiring himself. So I was like, it could be faulty wiring in the front porch light. I'm not saying, I'm just saying that it's a weird coincidence that you happen to fucking use it with your mind.
Right.
That what are the odds that your mind syncs up with the faulty wiring and you're in sync with the thing, like.
Maybe those two things aren't connected. Maybe his mind is powerful enough to turn it on, and you need to. It's not even the wiring. Just take out the fixture and put a new fixture in there.
What do I look like, Bob Vila, man? Like
all you
how
do
much free
is
time you think I got for this?
So was the same guy that did the wiring? Is he the guy that had the murder committed?
No. This was a family man, pilot dude. I think
maybe he wired it so that he could communicate in death.
That's a good idea. But another thing that Scott has is rabbits.
This is true. This is a pleasant note. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Big fluffy rabbits.
Yeah,
they're
and they walk
adorable.
around the yard. I mean, these rabbits are so friendly. I could see them like, hey, look at this spot on my fur. And the other rabbit's like, let me turn on the light. And they'll wave their hand at the freaking motion sensor lights. And then they'll be like, look at this.
Yeah,
Sounds like you're inspired to write a children's book, Christian.
Someday. I already have a title.
Next big idea.
I that's really weird because I also have a children's book titled, and I had it written out, but I lost it. I wrote the entire book while I was smoking. Not what you guys think. I was smoking hookah at Payman's Mediterranean Lounge in Las Vegas, and it was the best children's book of all time.
Oh, yeah?
And I lost it, and it was called The I'm a and and it was about life lessons from a passing down lessons to a. But
I already want to hear this story.
I know, so do
I do too.
That's pretty good start.
Yeah.
Now you could do Dennis and Friends. So
Yeah, I have to make sure I
rabbits.
bleep that out because at some point I am going to make that book.
I'll
bleep out the title.
Yeah,
and
because
the
I'm
description.
saving my title. I'll tell you guys when we're not recording. But
Yeah, people are thieves out there. Everything I've ever done has been stolen in one way or another, and it's not about to happen on this podcast. All right, I looked in the camera for dramatic effect, but anyway, back to the house being weird, and apparently the bunny's setting off.
I'm just saying these are rational explanations.
Yeah.
That you want to take care of first. So the first thing you do is you fix that light fixture. The second thing you do, you already know you have bunnies. You just have to accept it. So sometimes they're going to set that off.
Yeah.
And then you get a camera so that if there is a ghost, you can record it.
Yeah, that works all the time.
But how do you rule out the feeling like? I mean, I feel like that is all logical things to do, but nothing in my mind can I do to be like, well, what made me feel that way? Like what made me feel like I was being watched? Now, I do know with higher electricity or whatnot, you can get paranoia or depending on your wiring of your house.
This is from the 80s too, so.
It could just
Sorry,
be
I sound
your
emotional.
own, how you feel. Like some people are just more spooked. And so they're more prone to feel a certain way, where, if I see a light that's flashing, I might think it's something spiritual. Christian might just think it's faulty wiring.
But if I randomly seen
Different
a lamp
thoughts.
flashing, I wouldn't be like, ooh, it's a ghost. I'd be like, oh shit, what's up with this bulb? Like, let me fix that, change it out. But if it kept happening over and over, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, this is the way the events fell while they were gone. I just feel like it was more and more icing on the cake of like, this is really happening.
Yeah.
Well, one of the events that happened that was a little less random with Florence, actually going back to her, is I was home alone at one day and she was sleeping in my lap, and all of a sudden she got up and kind of looked over to the den room and reacted. And I just kind of watched her for a little bit. She got distracted and moved on. Well, I took one of her little toys and I threw it into the den room, which they usually will run in and catch it. Well, she walked right up to the ledge of the step and she wouldn't go any further. Few minutes later, she kind of starts looking over to the den room again after she had moved on. So I pulled out my phone and started recording, and she walks really slowly up onto this ledge. And just as she's peeking her head over, there's a noise. Chris said it kind of sounded like a balloon popping.
Because their balloons are in there on the floor, right?
Yeah,
But
China's
she
birthday was a month ago. Yeah.
Right. It startles her. You can hear it very audibly on the recording, and she kind of backs up, and she's kind of unsure, and she kind of snarls a little bit, and for about another minute and a half, she kind of is fixated on. But I walked out there, and I didn't see any balloons had popped. I had no explanation.
No, I do have that video, Christian, if you want to live review it.
Yeah, you can watch it real quick while we're on here.
And to go back to two things is the feeling you got, Chris, and the feeling Florence has, and the fact that Scott sees stuff that I don't see is maybe proof that our minds are a lot more in tune to the environment around us than we give it credit for. Scott may see things in a realm that I can't see because of how I'm built, how my beliefs are set up, how my brain's structured. Dogs, we already know, see the world completely different than they don't see the world like us. So they can see things, that maybe, or wavelengths that we can't see. They could probably even see colors that our eyes could never see.
True.
And all these things have an effect. And if there is something there, if that's the case, some of us are going to see a world that's invisible to others.
Right. Yeah.
And it could be paranormal. It might not. It could just be energetic. But the possibility is there. Even for like a skeptic like me, the possibility is there that there's a different world around us that not all of us get to see or hear.
Yeah. I would just wish that we would have recorded that night that she was playing with whatever, because that was like super, like, bro, like some unseen things playing with my dog. Like, that is weird. Like when you really think about that, like what is playing with my dog right now? Because she obviously was playing with something. Like,
if ghosts are real, why aren't there ghosts of dogs?
See, we mentioned that too. We thought we were like, maybe it was Bristol, like coming to hang out.
That makes perfect sense. I mean,
that was one of the theories we had.
That was a good theory. That was the fun theory. Like, maybe Bristol came back to
maybe that's why Florence is barking under the bed and playing.
And if that's the case, could you imagine how many ghost dogs there are in this world?
Which makes the world a better place.
Yeah, exactly.
Ghost dogs.
We get dogs and ghost dogs? Wait a minute. Yeah.
Dogs are such a treat. I would have every ghost dog that would come.
Mm-hmm.
I still talk to my dog every time I come home, and she's been gone since February.
Ours goes everywhere we go. She's in our bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah. The circling back around to the light flickering, it kind of reminded me. Did you guys happen to hear the listener story episode we did? It was only this past week, so you guys probably haven't heard it yet. But one of the stories was from one of our listeners, Kent. Shout out, Kent. You the man.
Is it Kent or Ken?
Kent.
Okay.
It's Kent. Yeah, that's going to be fun to edit. Really hard spike on the T there. Are you happy, Christian? Did you get it?
No, I'm not happy because the algorithm, Kent, when I was doing subtitles, said Ken. We apologize, Kent.
Oh, the algorithm or you when you typed it?
I was confused by the algorithm.
Spoiler alert, Kent, if you're wondering, I also typed your name onto the graphics that he could have read it off of, but it's fine. That's irrelevant to the story. We should get back to the story. Kent,
we love you, Kent.
Kent shared a story when he was a child of this like touch lamp that would go on and off with like no one touching it. And he said when he asked his mom, he told his mom was like, yeah, it does that. And she was like, you just have to tell it to stop. And he was like, I'm supposed to tell the lamp to stop. And she said, you're not asking the lamp. And that's what it reminds me with the light outside is I'm like, ooh, I don't want us to be like, can you please stop doing that? And then have it just stay solid. I'd be like, ugh, no.
Right.
Okay, stay outside then. Stay where you are.
That would be interesting to try.
It'll be next time it starts happening, try it.
I just tried it. Okay, so, and I mentioned it off air.
Where could you have tried it?
I mentioned it off air that I had a story about some strange sounds. And as soon as this happened, I thought about Kent's story. And I did it. So basically, I just got back from work. I was away from home for 3 weeks, came back exhausted. So last night I'm like, I just like, okay, I'm going to relax. We're at the part of the day I'm home. I could just lay here and relax. And then right then I heard like, knock, knock, knock on the closed door. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, Scott would be able to tell me what it is, but I don't really want to go there. So then I'm like, okay, whatever. And then like a couple minutes later, I get all relaxed again. I hear like another knock. I'm like, so I thought back to Kent's story, and I'm like, I'm really tired. I can't handle this tonight. Please stop. And eventually I didn't hear it again.
This happened in your new apartment?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'd be.
And it could have been the neighbors making noise. Could have been the neighbors, but it was like a really weird coincidence. And since sounds don't make me jump that much, this one was like, what the hell? Why are they knocking on my door? I'm trying to relax here.
What we really don't know, since none of us were there, is if Christian was genuinely scared. We've never seen him genuinely scared. Was he like sitting there like, oh, fuck, what is that? Oh, Scott was right. Scott was right. Or is he acting all cool and calm now? Or was he?
No, I was not scared. I was like annoyed.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I've never had any experiences to be scared, so I'm not going to jump to being scared. I'm like,
well, I really feel that if we get a moment in time, which is hard to come by for all of us to get together, but I really feel like if we do some legit investigation in this house that you're familiar with, that you might be.
I'd be totally willing to bring the Ouija board over.
I wouldn't go that far.
Thank you.
Like,
no Ouija board.
I wasn't thinking about that.
But we should definitely have a sleepover and stay up late.
Take pictures,
stay up until the witching hour.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. We should
definitely have GoPros now. We can set them up in the room.
Right.
In that room.
And I would definitely like to focus on that den room because like
AK Ghost
really
Adventures.
Yeah. We'll be like a legit Ghost Adventures, not like Ghost Adventures. You know how it is. But yeah, we should probably wrap this episode up because we're pushing by the end of edits and all that fun stuff, probably like 35 minutes. And I'm pretty, I was pretty aggressive with how long I want to keep this episode, guys.
Yeah, man. He left marks on all of us.
Thanks for having us.
No, you guys are coming back. We're going to be in the exact same clothing because, guys, we have another episode to film immediately after this.
Boom.
Do you think really people are looking at us?
I know what you're trying to do. Yeah.
Do you think people are looking at us for our and
yeah, they
judging
come
our
fashion.
Yeah.
They come here for high.
They'll notice. Oh,
yeah,
the same clothes.
Yeah.
Well, we got merch.
Actually, thank you for cutting in because now I have to push the button again.
Oh,
so can I go pee?
Not yet. No, give us another 2 minutes. You want to try that? Oh, yeah. Just fill that up. If you're wondering, Christian is jealous of my big Jamaica cola that I picked up from, if you can imagine, Jamaica.
The finest Jamaican cola.
Yeah, man, respect. Anyway, to close this episode out, we will be having another episode with you guys immediately after this, but we kind of wanted to touch base on the weird stuff that's going on in the house. And this is a fun thing because while you guys are here, we can keep looking into stuff. And if more stuff pops up, we can do kind of additions to this episode. We can bring Christian over to analyze the data, all the fun stuff. But yeah, actually, I really appreciate you guys sitting down. We've wanted to do this since like episode 8 because for those of you that aren't familiar, Chris and Alex were witnesses to the flying humanoid right around our wedding last year.
Settlers Bay.
Yeah. So we were supposed to talk about that when we didn't. Maybe we'll do another episode, guys. What are we tied down to contracts? Nobody cares. It's fine. Yeah. So thanks for coming on after a year. We finally made it happen. We got one. We're going to set up maybe a couple more. You guys are going to be here for a couple months. It's going to be good times,
Your closing is taking like 10 minutes.
That's because you threw me off my game. The social medias, as you know, are at Freaky Deaky Pod on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And hold on.
COVID.
Smoker's lung. 2 different. Yeah. At Freaky Deaky Pod, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then TikTok is at TFD Paranormal because they don't like the term Freaky Deaky. So hit us up on the socials if you have a ghost story or if you have like a weird blinking light incident that you want to share with us because we'd love to hear more of those, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's get some more blinking lights. Let's see if we can have some correlations in these stories.
Do you ever close your eyes and all of a sudden see blinking lights? Do you think that's ghost inside your eyelids?
So anyway, if you have a story, go ahead.
Give us a like on TikTok, please.
Yeah. Go ahead and email in thegang@thefreakydeaky.com. We will see you next time. Enjoy your Thursday. Enjoy your weekend. Have a great end of summer. damn it. Just get out of here. Bye. Okay. Oh, yeah. I'll play you out. All right.
The government loves you.
Yeah. The end.
Who locked?